Welcome to Campfire Horror, a place of spooky tales based on the accounts of real people. Like and subscribe if you dare.
Sponsored by LinQ Cash. Be safe, go crypto.
The Hitchhiker. A motorcyclist was riding along a long stretch of road when he noticed a young woman, about 17 years old, waving him down. He stopped. She was a rather pretty girl and she wanted a lift to her house. The biker, an eligible male about 22 years old, said, "Sure, no problem, hop on." The girl complained that she was cold and asked kindly for his jacket. He quite willingly and gallantly took off the stylish jacket he was wearing and proudly gave it to her. She looked quite good in it and smiled at him winningly. He felt good. As she climbed on, he felt her arms around his waist, even a bit lower. Quite excited at the thought of such a pretty girl showing so much interest in him, he started the bike and turned on the speed a little to impress her. As he rode, he felt her arms tighten around him more. They felt rather cold, actually, and he asked her if she was warm enough. Should he slow down? But she said no, she was fine. The young man took her straight to her home, as it was on his way, and as much as he thought she might be interested in him, he was not the sort to make a move so quickly. When she got off at her address, she thanked him with a big smile and said, "Come and visit me anytime," and pointed out her house to him. The young man did not wait to see her through the door and left. It was nearly 1:30 a.m. when he got home. It was then that he realized the girl had not given him back his jacket. Oh well, he could get it from her tomorrow. A Sunday, he thought. He went to bed but had a fitful rest that night. He could not stop thinking of that pretty girl and looked forward to seeing her again. The next morning, not having slept much anyway, the young man decided to visit the girl early. He reached the house at around 8 a.m. He knocked on the door for a bit, but there was no answer. Finally, a middle-aged woman came to the door. The young man explained that he had given her daughter a lift home last night but left his jacket with her, and could he have it back? The woman looked surprised and said none of her daughters had been out the night before, so what was he talking about? Perhaps it was the lack of sleep, but the young man got irritable and insisted firmly that he had the right house. Finally, the woman, realizing he was sincere, led him into the house and asked him which daughter. The man looked at the two girls there who were having their breakfast. "Not these," he said. "That one, in the photograph. Where is she?" The woman looked at him with a strange look in her eyes. "She's been dead for 4 years, young man," she said. "That can't be. It was her. I'm not mistaken," he insisted. "It cannot be. I'm telling the truth. I can even show you her grave, but I'm not hiding her here. Don't hurt my feelings anymore," the woman said. The other two girls supported her. This only irritated the young man further. What kind of sick joke were this woman and her daughters playing on him? "Then show me her grave," the hot-headed young man said, still not believing her. The mother told her daughters to remain in the house and took the young man by foot to the nearby cemetery. "Where is it?" he asked her, feeling he had called her bluff, and she got nervous the nearer they got to the cemetery. "It is just here, just around this corner," she said. When they turned the corner, they found the grave easily. It had the young man's jacket over the tombstone. Teacher's pet. I felt quite bad talking about this, for this incident concerns a favorite pupil of mine. Her name was Monica. Monica was a very pretty little girl with large sensitive eyes and very fair, pale skin. She was tall for her age, but very skinny and weak. Monica had leukemia. However, there wasn't a brighter, kinder, more helpful girl in the whole school. Monica excelled in her studies and showed a special talent in the art class I was teaching. She would always try her very best in sports and games, despite her condition. Often I would see her sickly and weak, paler than ever from her earnest exertions in the PE lessons. I would feel special tenderness for her bravery and spirit at times like these. I often encouraged Monica and helped her any way I could. I remember during the time of the inter-schools art competition, I pushed Monica into submitting an entry. I was sure she stood a good chance of winning. But this was not to be. The poor girl succumbed to a fatal illness before she could enter the competition. Needless to say, I was quite heartbroken. How could this beautiful, bright young girl be taken away when she had so much ahead of her? For the next few days, I was in a daze, suffering from heartache and loss. On the third evening after her demise, I had stayed late in school to correct some papers when I fell asleep at my desk in the common room. Purple dusk had fallen over the grounds of the MGS compound when I was awakened by the creaking common room door. I lifted my sleepy head to see. In the gathering darkness, Monica, paler than ever. Her dark eyes were shining with a bright effervescent glow. "Miss Cheryl, I've brought the drawing for the competition. Sorry I'm a bit late," she said. Her tinkling musical voice seems to come from far, far away. Then she glided effortlessly across the floor to me like she was floating. I was too awestruck to speak as she placed her drawing on my desk. I was shaking with fear, and yet I was glad to see her. Tears sprang to my eyes. I think she noticed this because she said, "Don't worry about me, Miss Cheryl. I'm fine now. I live in a place where no one is ever sick and everyone is happy." I saw that there were tears in her eyes now as she turned to go. She turned back and flashed me a sad, misty, pearly gray smile. And then she was gone. I told all of my friends and colleagues about it, but none of them would believe me. Spirit of the Coin. In 1987, I was arrested for drug abuse and put in a rehabilitation camp. It was a holiday camp back then in the 80s. I slept in the Asian dormitory. There were only a few other Asians there. The rest of them slept with the Asians in their dorm. I slept with the Asians because I had many Asian friends. One night, we were all feeling bored. There was nothing to do except watch TV. So, we played Spirit of the Coin. There was one guy, Mike. He made a makeshift board for the coin, writing at random a few basic verbs and vowels in Mandarin so we could decipher the spirit's message. Someone else took out the coin and we started. 3 of us put our index finger on the coin. Mike, myself, and another guy whose name I can't remember. Mike started to invite the spirit, saying, "Spirit of the coin, please come and play with us." I felt a slight tingle in my finger and was amazed to see the coin move about the board while Mike had a cheeky grin on his face. I began to suspect that he was pushing the coin. "David, my appeal how?" the other guy with us asked the spirit of the coin. He has such an earnest look on his face that I nearly burst out laughing. The coin moved this way and that, then zeroed in on the Asian character. Good. "I'll get early release," the guy said in joy. By this time, a little crowd of other inmates had gathered around us. The other guy playing lit his cigarette and placed it in the ashtray beside us. However, much to everyone's surprise, we saw the lighted end of the cigarette glowing brightly as if someone was puffing hard on it. Smoke was rising from the butt end of the cigarette even as it lay there in the ashtray. Everyone felt the chill of terror and fascination. The cell suddenly turned many degrees colder, and a strong gust of wind swept across the prison. I was feeling a little scared. My finger was trembling on the coin. I had to remind myself not to remove it because I heard that the spirit would be turned loose into the room from the coin if one of the players removed his finger. The other guys gathered around the board were now shooting questions, and the coin moved about in reply. However, some characters it rested on as replies were a little too vague for anyone to understand. But it did not matter. We were all having fun. The cigarette was quickly burned up as it lay in the ashtray, as if someone had been puffing away at it. Another one was lit and we played on. At this point, a big, mean guy with a lot of tattoos called Harry said to Mike, "You cheat! I saw you pushing the coin." Mike said that he had not, but Harry said, "Prove that that thing is real. Ask it about my wife." "What about your wife?" Mike said. Harry said, "Just ask anything. She just visited me today. I want to see what it says." Mike shrugged. We kept our fingers on the coin all this while. Then Mike said, David, tell us something about Harry's wife." The coin darted about and rested on the Asian character. Run. This got everyone laughing. We took it to mean that his wife would be running away. Harry didn't like this one bit. "Mike, you bastard, you're pushing the coin." Saying this, he broke the board over Mike's head. A big fight then broke out between Mike and Harry. The warders came to break it up and threw both of them into the isolation ward. The strange thing was, on the third day of his solitary confinement, Harry was let out to go to court. Divorce court. His wife really left him. Mike had not been pushing the coin at all. Madame Ayesha's curse. This happened in the late 70s when I had just opened my coffee shop in Tiong Bahru. I had bought it over from the previous owner as it was located in a prime spot of a corner block. It was where the neighborhood bird singing contests were held. The proud owners would come with their pets every evening. It was good business for me. Amongst these proud pet owners was a guy called Kevin. He was a landlord and owner of several champion bulls. He was very popular in spite of his nastiness, meanness, and greed, for a lot of people looked up to him for being a wise and shrewd businessman. He looked like the typical big boss, what with his gold teeth, towering stature, big belly and thick hairy neck, and arms loaded with heavy gold chains. And in our neighborhood, there lived the mysterious Madame Ayesha. She was a crazy old Asian lady with whitish gray hair. Her eyes had a wild staring look, and they seemed to pop out of the thin, shrunken head of hers on her emaciated body. She was also always dressed in traditional Asian clothes. Most of the other Asian women shunned her. But every now and then, people would go to her for advice. Madame Ayesha was a witch. Once, there was a bird singing contest organized at my coffee shop. A lot of people were there for it that evening, and I was surprised to see among the crowd of bird enthusiasts Madame Ayesha. I was even more surprised to see her having a heated argument with Kevin, the Tauke. The trouble was that the Tauke was also a money lender. It was among one of the many shady operations he had going on in our neighborhood. Madame Ayesha was there to appeal on behalf of a friend about the late payment of a loan. It looked to me as if Kevin did not give much face to this old Asian woman, as he hardly paid any attention to her at all and snorted and laughed in derision when she lost her temper. I was passing by the table where they sat when I heard him say, "I don't care what happens to your friend. All I care about is that my prize bubble wins the contest tonight." I saw Madame Ayesha's eyes blaze with angry hatred. She hissed and spat. "A curse on you! You and your family will suffer a similar fate as your precious birds." Then she left. Kevin just laughed. However, I saw his lips tremble in fear, but it did not prevent his prize bubble from winning the contest. The next day, the whole neighborhood was shocked when an illegal gambling den in our area was broken up by the anti-vice squad. Kevin's two sons, who ran it, were arrested and remanded. They were due to be charged in court, and the lawyer Kevin consulted said they hadn't a hope of not getting a stiff jail term this time, as it was already their third offense. Kevin was really worried. He got special charms, amulets, etc. from a medium and a mystic to ward off Madame Ayesha's curse, but to no avail. A few days later, he himself was picked up for loan sharking and for using his house as an unlicensed bookie joint. And when he was in Queenstown remand prison with his sons, he went out of his mind, for Madame Ayesha's curse was coming true. He told his wife to release all his precious birds, as her curse was that he would suffer the same fate as them, and if they were set free, then perhaps so would he be as well. That very day, when his wife set his birds free, Kevin was released when the DPP dropped the charges. However, on his way home, he had a fatal car accident that mangled and squashed him to a pulp. I remember when I heard this news in my coffee shop, I saw the cats I kept were busy cleaning and licking their paws and whiskers. They were stained with blood and yellow bubble feathers. I presume that it must have been Kevin's birds. Madame Ayesha's curse had come true. Grandmother's story. I used to live in the old village in Wampo. My next door neighbor was an old Asian lady called Alice. Alice liked to gamble. She would bet on anything and everything she could. Sometimes she'd win, but most times she'd lose. I told her I didn't know, that my husband was a postman, not a mystic. Once, she was desperate. She asked me if the banana trees at the back of our houses had the spirit of a Pontianak in it. For those that didn't know, a Pontianak is a vampire spirit of a pregnant lady who was murdered. I heard that if I stuck a pin into the trunk of a banana tree, I can get the Pontianak under my power, and she will have to do everything I say, Alice said thoughtfully. I told her that it wasn't so simple. She'd had to tie a red thread to the pin and tie the other end around the foot of a bed. She frowned and said, "How do you know so much about this kind of thing?" I told her it was an old wives' tale. But I didn't expect Alice to actually try it. I mean, she actually got a pin and red thread and stuck it into the tree, tying the other end of the long string around the foot of a bed. The next day, she came to my house and told me, "Oh, it worked! Last night there was a woman's voice outside my window. She was weeping and begging me to take the pin out. I said I'd do it if she let me win a bet this weekend. I didn't know whether to believe her, but that Sunday, true enough, Alice won the first prize. Alice was very happy. She was also quite a generous woman. She gave all my children $20 each. It was nice of her. I asked her if she had taken out the pin. She said, "Never. Why would I do that? I want to win again this week." And so Alice kept winning over the next few weeks. A sinister thing started to happen at this point. Many people in the village began to hear the weeping and wailing of a woman late at night. She was crying in anguish and agony. I shuddered whenever I heard it. I knew it was the Pontianak. You see, Alice had left the pin stuck in the tree all this time. In fact, one afternoon, when I passed by the tree, I saw that there was a whole row of shiny silver pins stuck into it, all with red threads attached. I stick a few more in, just to make sure she keep on helping me strike 4D. Alice explained when I asked her about it. Her character had started to change now that she was winning so much money. A lot of people grew to hate her intensely. Alice and her brother started a loan shark operation with the newfound wealth. She was making a lot of enemies, and I wanted to warn her about it. But she had so little time for me now. Once, she pressured one of her debtors so badly that he was forced to leave town. His wife was so angry with Alice that she decided to take revenge. She knew about Alice's run of luck and the banana tree, and although she didn't know what was going on exactly, she guessed that it had something to do with the pin stuck in it. So, she took out all the pins one night, thinking it would spoil Alice's run of good luck. No one realized that it was exactly those pins that were keeping the Pontianak imprisoned and at bay. That night, there were no sounds of weeping, but in the morning, the whole village was stunned by a horrible discovery. Alice's husband found her at a cluster of banana trees behind our house. She lay in a big, red pool of her own blood. She was bleeding from her eyes, ears, nose, and mouth. When they took her to the hospital, they found out that she had several silver pins shoved right through her skull and into her brain. Hope you enjoyed these tales. For more Campfire horror stories, please like and subscribe to our channel. We appreciate it. Do you have a ghost story you'd like us to share? Send it to our website at campfirehorror.com and we'll send $50 your way for every story we used on our channel.